Well, it seems appropriate that the Emmett Fox reading for today starts with his request that we read Psalm 91. And given that we've been talking about people who have passed to the other side or are struggling on this side while we were waiting to start, hear this, absorb this. He who dwells in the protection of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him will I trust. Surely He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from vain gossip. He will He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you shall trust. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. You shall not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flies by day, nor for the conspiracy that spreads in darkness, nor for the pestilence that wastes at noonday. Thousands shall fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Only with your eyes shall you behold the reward of the wicked. For thou, O Lord, art my trust. Thou hast established thy habitation in the highest. There shall no evil befall you, neither shall any plague come near your dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. They shall bear you up in their hands, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You shall tread upon the viper and adder, you shall trample underfoot the lion and the great serpent. Because he has loved me, therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high because he has known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation. Now let's see what Emmett Fox says about this. He opens with the words that to him are the most important of this reading. He uses the King James Version, so you'll notice difference in language. For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. And then Emmett Fox writes, this is one of the loveliest of all the promises in the Bible. For tender beauty it stands alone. Another quote, he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. And it is meant for you and for me. It might have seemed appropriate enough that some exalted being should be given an escort of angels to surround him, to support him, to keep him in all his ways. But the Bible is the book of every man, and this promise is given to you and to me. So we are lucky enough to have Lori Kay do our talk tonight. Lori, would you care to introduce your topic?
Thank you so much, Brian. And those readings were just lovely. I really needed to hear them. Um, yeah, I titled this Light in the Mist, which was something that came to me when you were speaking last week, Brian, and you were talking about being in the mist. And I said, oh, we really need to talk about where the light is in the mist and what the mist even is. And so I was thinking about the two different ways in which we go back and forth with our journey in this life. There is the strictly human need part of our path where we need to be heard and we need to be held and we need to be healed and we all of those sorts of things. And then there's the spiritual side where we say, oh, I am one with that. I am made of God stuff and star stuff, and the two often don't seem to go together. We don't. put them together very well. We don't quite understand very well how to do that. So anyway, I want to read you a poem, and then I'm going to give the talk, and then we'll talk. So, of course, the poem is Light in the Mist. We have good times and bad times and times in between. We look at the world and believe what it seems. We are, in truth, the light in the mist. We are the ones who, if absent, are missed. As children, we rise in the morning and try to understand all the social hows, whens, wheres, and whys. Adapting to rules and reactions we're told will make us successful and comfy when old. As teenagers, freedom is what we are seeking, but teen years fly fast and new jobs leave us shrieking. Adaptation, we're told, is the ongoing answer, but the stress and the worry can just give us cancer. Adulting gets old when we lose rich creation, just following roads with no real ideation. When prayer and hope have left us all waiting for answers far off that seem not to be waking. But when we stop waiting for God to come round, when we let the four walls of our mind all fall down, we pick up the magic, the wand, and the insight and say to that teenager, kid, here's the light. And there in a circle, young, middle, and old, get to smiling and laughing, eyes shining like gold. They rise steady on feet planted firm in themselves, their emotions and notions just wafting like spells. And as they all dance, arms raised overhead, we were right, all the teenagers think in their heads. We are free of the shoulds, cry the middle-aged souls, and the old ones sing songs and float candles in bowls. There is a mystery here in our midst, in front of our eyes, though we tend to resist. Emotion is energy that we can feel. We're not its handmaiden. Can I be real and tell you that when you just take a small step, give up the efforting, pushing, and pep, just let yourself feel and then feel something better, your true self is there, and you'll never forget her. As you know, I do a 2 time a week conversation and meditation. And it was interesting because I wanted to lead people in visualization of something that they want. And it was very difficult. It's very difficult for them to even allow themselves to think of something that they really wanted and allow themselves to feel what it would feel like to have it. So how difficult it is when we're in the midst of a really difficult time to access feeling something kinder, something softer, something more loving. And it seems to me that there are all of these ways in which we hold God away from us. Now, it's easy for us to say, oh, it's my issues, I don't feel worthy, or I'm too upset, I can't access it. We have all kinds of things that we say to ourselves that keep God separate. But the fact is that God is omnipresent. So how do we put those together? How do we do that? And if we can, it seems to me, take a little bit of like maybe 5 minutes a day to imagine either how we used to feel. Maybe we had a really nice childhood. And if we did, and we can remember how it felt to feel like a kid, great. If we didn't have a good childhood, how about a good thing that happened, our wedding day, if we were happy to be getting married, or something where our children did something that made us feel proud, or a time when we were getting out of physical pain that we've been in for a long time. And when we say to ourselves, what good does it do? This reality is still what it is. We're actually missing the light in the mist. When we deliberately bring up a feeling that is authentically felt by us, that is not something that we automatically resist. It is actually something that we have no resistance to. It's just easy for us. Then what we're doing, because we're doing it deliberately, is we're actually shifting our energy, and we're shifting our relationship to this grace that is always reigning on us, this godness that is always with us. And this runs very, very counter to how we're raised, to how our society is. We as humans and our society love problems. We love to solve problems. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to solve problems, nothing at all. The problem that we have is that we sort of never come out of it. We never go to the other part, which is, let me invite in the energy of feeling a little better or feeling a lot better. Because what makes that effective, aside from also from the deliberateness that we're putting into it, is that the light is so much stronger than the dark. They say it's 10,000 times stronger than the dark. I don't know what they're measuring, like what their ruler is, but that's what is said. And my experience is that that's true. When we say to ourselves, I know I'm made of God stuff, I know I'm made of star stuff, the invitation is to feel and hear where in our body, where in our mind, where in our emotions, we hear or feel or sense resistance. Importantly, this is not about making yourself wrong. This is actually being your own laboratory. It's about playing with the stuff of life rather than fearing it, pushing against it, dreading it. And I remember I listened to I think it was like a 3-hour recording of Reverend Michael Beckwith that had been made by the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living when he spoke there. And I was in a class there that they gave us the two CDs. And literally every day I listened to those as I drove and as I went anywhere. I listened to it every day. And I listened to it with an attitude of allowing, like, where was the part in me that heard this thing that was so cool and so truthful? How far into me did it go before it hit resistance, or did I feel resistance? And I found that as I listened more and more and more, it was going into me, and it was opening my mind, and it was really changing the way that I thought about spirituality. And it was a big part of bringing me to a place where I said, I want to bridge these two areas, the human and the spiritual. Because even though I say I understand that the spiritual is real and it's here, I need that light. I need it and I want it. I want it every day. I may not be able to say how it looks or exactly what it'll feel like, which that one was my stumbling block for years and years, and I'm still getting over that one, frankly. But if this stuff is true, this God stuff that we study, if it's true, then it has to be within our grasp. And so that's one part of the light in the mist, is that we are the light in the mist. If we can let go of resistance by becoming aware of it and then maybe questioning it, or maybe allowing it to sort of be softened by an attitude of grace towards it. But we have to make that effort. And the thing that can be scary is that there's no course that says how you specifically will do it. I've made a course, so it's one way. But excitingly, if you find your own way, suddenly there's nothing you can't shift. And then it's a whole different game. It's not like suddenly you're on easy street and you can have everything. But the fact is that you know you can have everything. And then you can always find the light in the mist. Always. You look at the situation and you go, you know what? I know that I am capable of shifting this. I know that I'm capable of continuing to build this bridge that I have found. And suddenly it's a different game. It's not win and lose. It's curiosity and investigation and play and communication. Now, the other side of it is when you are in a really, really scary situation and you just can't find that is not accessible to you. What do you do? Where's the light in that mist? So, if you don't want to do a visualization, and the visualization, you feel what you would feel if. That's the whole game. Just feel what you would feel as if, allowing yourself for just 5 minutes, time it on your phone, to just feel what you would feel if things were fantastic. So, um, let me just repeat something about the spiritual part. So in order to allow this light to be there has to be a willingness to just even feel something a little bit that might be a little relief. That can be very difficult, I know, but that's what it is. So you have to have willingness, or you can call it surrender. The other side of this is that you can go, I got nothing, God. And sometimes that works beautifully because you get out of the way. It's not something that is, I don't think it's doable when you're specifically trying to do it. I think it has to be very honest, where you're like, God, really, I got nothing. You're in charge. And then answers can come in. Now, the thing about when you're in a tough, real, like physical situation, whatever, I'm going to tell you a story about me and my father. So my dad was very ill for 6 years. He went in and out of different levels of illness, and he had multiple strokes, and he contracted something somehow called epididymitis. And this was a tough one because this is a disease of the testicle. And I was in charge of this. And I was like, I shouldn't be in charge of this. I'm a girl. This is not something I should be doing. My father is very particular. And like, oh God, what am I going to do? And the illness took away his ability to speak. He would put food in his mouth and then he didn't know it was there. So he'd have a bulge out the side of his face. And I'd say, Dad, you need to chew. And he'd look at me with the perfect Jack look, which is like, you're an idiot. And he wouldn't chew. So the doctors came and they said, look, we can do this. Um, we can either put him on an antibiotic for 3 weeks and see if it works. And I'm like, oh my God. And they said, or we can just remove the testicle and then the inflammation and all of that will be gone. And I said, okay. I said, take the testicle. And they rolled him out. And I thought, oh my God, what have I done? And I sat there in a real welter of indecisiveness after the fact and real grief and real beating myself up, frankly. And then the phone rang and I picked it up and it was the social worker for the hospital. She said, I understand that you're alone today while your father's in surgery. I said, that's true. And she said, is there anything I can bring you? I said, gosh, that's really kind. I can't imagine. She goes, do you want something to eat? And I was basically living at that point on strawberry shakes for some reason. That was hitting the spot. So I said, how about a strawberry shake? Strawberry milkshake. She said, sure, sure, absolutely. And she went out, she came up, she gave me a shake, she gave me a hug. And every time that I have somebody do me a kindness, I know that that is the light in the mist. It's not gone. It does mean that I have to not necessarily have the situation in my own way. And that's really hard. It's so hard. But if I remember that when I let go and let the energy do, let God do whatever it needs to do, it knows better than me. This challenges me tremendously. I like control. I like to know what's happening. I like to think I can get what I want. I can get it if I just ask for it. And sometimes you can, which makes it kind of confusing. But every time that something that is very small and very caring happens, I know that that is the light in the mist. And it is so good not to underestimate that, because there are people in the world, so many of them, who are so focused on the negative, so focused on the pain, that all they can do is either run from it or live smack dab in it. And the light is so strong that those moments will still come where people give you something wonderful or a reminder. But if you're open, you will see it more, you will appreciate it more, and you will feel it more. That's what I have to offer this evening. Feel free to comment, agree, disagree, tell stories, whatever.
Thank you. Someone have something to offer? While you're thinking about it, I stumbled across this afternoon as I was preparing a statement that's been sitting in the box where I keep all our stuff between sessions that I've never seen before, that seems absolutely appropriate to your talk. It starts, FEAR has two meanings. Forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. And the light in the mist is facing everything and rising. So thank you very much. Leah, yes, please. And then Ellie.
I liked what you had to say, Lori. And it's true. Sometimes it is hard to say, okay, God, the ball's in your park. Do what you got to do. Leave me out of it. Because, that's the ego part. Leave me out of it. And then let me know how it's going to work. And I love Michael Beckworth. In fact, today I listened to two of his things on YouTube this morning, and I just feel, because that's what he does. He rises you up, and listening to him, I feel the joy just rising up. And then I heard Kyle Cease, which also was telling people to look at that fear. What is it that you're afraid of? And breathe it in. Because once you breathe in that air, breathe in, which is that God source, whatever you want to call it, breathe it in, and things do happen. And I say, yeah, to your strawberry milkshake too, because I know when I got out of rehab, what did I want? Strawberry ice cream, strawberry milkshake, strawberry shortcake, strawberries themselves, strawberry, strawberry, strawberry. That's all I wanted. So I understand. And of course, you were, unfortunately, fortunately, something you had to learn, where you were your father's yes and no person, because there was no one. Well, he couldn't talk, so it was on your shoulders. And it is a hard experience when you're younger. Now, if it happened at our age, this and that, it'd be like, okay, God, yep, this is what feel I need to choose. It's all in your hands. But we've had to go through how many things in our lives to get where we're at. And I give thanks to God that things happen when they did happen. And I really liked your talk today, and it was really awesome. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Ellie is next.
That was a really good talk, Lori. Second person today that I've heard on about this light in the mist. I had gone with a friend of mine this morning, to church. Haven't been to church in quite a while. To me, organized religion, I don't really want anything to do with it after what I went through a couple years ago, and Lori already knows about that. Anyway, a couple things that were said there. There isn't only one moment that's spiritual. All moments are spiritual. I had to think about that because we, in our minds, have a tendency to be, this moment is good, that moment isn't, that moment, well, is okay. Or we try to divide the moments into moments versus into one line as it is. And so when it was said that there isn't only one moment that's spiritual, all moments are spiritual, it's that allowing that, what was it that you said, Lori, that allowing, that surrender, that willingness to be able to see it that way, to see not one moment at a time, but all the moments. And another one that was said this morning was, and mind you, it's a Christian church. So this kind of hit me in a good way, in a room of non-believers, meaning, those don't believe in the divine, a believer's light is not so seen. Yet in a world of darkness, a match is clearly seen. So it allowed me to look at my life and see, am I segregating my life between those that believe in the divine or not, or focusing on my light just being in the world, period, and not the segregation, not the labels, not what society thinks we should be, getting rid of the shoulds. And I think, Laura, you had mentioned that too about, not having the shoulds there. So like I said, it was a good talk, and it was the second message I heard today on, on light. So I probably need to be paying more attention to exactly what the light is in my own life and offer that instead of not. So thank you, Lori.
Thank you, Ellie.
You can't help but offer your light, Ellie. So, but if you want to figure out what that is, that's cool. But I'm just saying,
Karen W is next.
I want to say that Lori's talk is right on target. Oftentimes, if you slough off things like problems or fear, then the fear or the problem gets worse, usually. You can't slough it off, you have to acknowledge it. And the signs and symptoms that you feel physically when you're acknowledging or going through the problem, write on it or give it up to God or the universe. And I use Brian's universal breath hold quite often. It's very effective. So thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, Bob V.
I'd like to thank Ellie also about her observation that all moments are spiritual. That is very, very powerful, because I think everyone here believes that the concept of oneness. We are oneness with everything in the universe, with God, and we are one and the same. So when we're talking about the light it's an energy that becomes more and more powerful as you go into higher and higher levels of consciousness. And I think it's Hawkins that made the scale of energy, and love is a very, very high energy. And if we can express this love, we're going to be lighting up tremendously. But if we're down in the weeds and struggling and berating ourselves and all the rest of it, that's when we get into the more of the darkness. So we have the power to turn up the light whenever we want to, just by changing what we think. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can I add something real quickly before we go into meditation? Okay.
Yes.
Yesterday I was with a group of people, small group of people, and they were all from my high school years. There were about maybe 7 of us or 8 of us. And when I walked in, I gave my friend who's from out of town, who was visiting her sister who lives here, and I gave her a hug. And then there was somebody sitting in the living room, and I gave him a hug, and he was like, whoa. But by the end of the afternoon, I was there for like 5 hours. And by the end of the afternoon, as I was getting ready to leave, the hostess came over and she put her head on my chest and just hugged me. And we just stood there and hugged for a while. And by the time I got out of there, everybody wanted a hug. Everybody hugged, and everybody felt connected. So it's not like that. I like to bring the light into our humanness, to say that it's not, we don't have to be high. We can just be so simple and so easy about it. And just a hug shares your light.
Oh, did you want to say something, Teresa?
Just real quick, that that is so Lori. I mean, we can't go to a restaurant and they come over and the tired waitress says, "Hi, I'm Julie. I'll be your waitress." And she says, "Hi, I'm Lori. How are you today? This is Tiffy." So she just and it's all simple and sweet, and she's always shining her light. And I'm sorry I came late and missed most of her talk, but I see her live it all the time. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, thank you, God, for bringing us together today. Thank you for allowing us to share our learnings, our spiritual walk, our concern, our love for one another. Help us to walk faithfully with you this week. Help us to serve as representatives of your divine love. Help us to know what to do and when to continue to lift up this world and all the people who are hurting in it. We thank you for having guided us and protected us, dear God. And we thank you for making us wiser each day. We say thank you, thank you, thank you, and amen.